Good morning. My name is Michael Bartlett, Master Metaphysical Astrologer, and I'm here today to talk about a very unusual experience that we're going to be having this month of April 2026. So if you'd like to stay tuned and see what's happening, I would really enjoy you seeing what I'm going to be offering here because it's quite fascinating. So let's see, let me go into my talk here. All right, my title for this month's forecast, and I'm actually really only going to be talking about a very few specific days here, is going to be called the Rams. And for very obvious reasons, you're going to see in just a moment. On April 9th, this is really what's going to be setting it off. Right now, we have Neptune and Saturn conjunct with Sun and Chiron in the sign of Aries. This is already a really strong force of energy in Aries and is calling our attention to it. But on April 9th at 13:37 or 1:37 in the afternoon Eastern Time, 12:37 Pacific Time, Mars makes its move out of simply spiritual, creative, liminal Pisces and moves into the fiery sign, its own sign of Aries. This gives us five planets, including its own ruler, which is Mars, and the sun, which is also very highly positioned when it comes to Aries. Of course, its favorite position is going to be in Leo, but the next fire sign really does carry it over as well. Before I go any further, I really want to give great thanks to Christine Cianci. She's the woman who made and painted all of these figures for Astro Theater. You can pick up the Astro Theater book, which is a really great way of understanding and learning about astrology using the planets as actors, the signs as the costumes and tools, and the houses as the stages of life and learning keywords. Really great for learning, beginning, and especially good for those of you who are not word oriented but are more visually oriented in learning things. Then on the 15th of, oh, looks like I didn't finish that one up there, but I'm just going to go ahead with it anyway. On the 15th of April, not at this time period though, we are going to have also Mercury and the moon are going to be added in. So we have Mars over here, Neptune, Saturn, Sun, Chiron, Moon, and Mercury. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven planets in Aries. Not only is this highly unusual, but it actually is beyond the unusual, which I'm going to get into in just a second. So here we are. We're looking at this date here on the 9th of September, 9th of April, when this is in, when Mars goes in there, and we can see this wonderful focus of energy, Mars, Neptune, Saturn, Sun, Chiron. This means the way we go about our desires and getting things, the way we dream, create, and imagine, the way we structure, form, and limit, the way we shine, bring forth our personality and allow ourselves to do our work, and the ways in which we are teacher, educators, and facilitators have all moved into the very first sign of the zodiac. The key word with Aries is to be. It moves out of the liminal, amniotic space of Pisces and moves into the here I am, awakening sunrise energy of Aries. It's also our beginning of our spring, so it's a very key point in here. The 0 degrees of Aries is also what we call the world point. So when planets are at the world point, like Mars is going to be on the 9th of April, and how Neptune and Saturn were very shortly, these are the things that affect the whole world. And what are we seeing right now? We're seeing wars going on. We're seeing Trump going absolutely crazy, which I'm going to talk about in a second as well. Very, very powerful. All up above the horizon, just like an incredible focus of energy. And on the 15th of April begins this thing where we have the at 9:26 a.m. we have Mercury, Moon, Neptune, Mars, Saturn, Sun, and Chiron. So I like to add Chiron. Chiron is considered an asteroid, or it is an asteroid. The rest of these are considered planets in astrology. The likelihood of all these planets showing up in one sign is very unlikely, doesn't happen very often. But when we add the orbit of Chiron into this, things get really even more crazy. I did a research on solar fire. I went back to 26th of December, 5000 BC, and to December 31st of 5000 AD. And to look for each of these planets in the sign of Aries. And what I found was pretty fascinating. The only time this happens is the 15th through the 17th of April this year, in 10,000 years. This is incredible. I've always talked about this lifetime as being a bonus round. And I say that because those of us who believe in past lives, who've kind of been around the block a few times, understand that there's a way in which things are being accelerated and moved forward in this lifetime that has not really been seen before. Now, with this acceleration of all these planets in Aries, we are going to be seeing a major reset. This is a reset if there ever was one. So, what we're thinking about, when we think about this from a very practical standpoint, here we are here on the Earth. If we look at this blue band as being the way the zodiac is up in the sky. From our viewpoint from Earth, when we look over to the constellation of Aries, we see this whole gang of planets right up there in one spot. If we're able to see all the way from, obviously we could see the sun, moon, Mercury, Mars, Saturn, but Neptune is the one in Chiron we're not likely to see with our naked eye unless you have a telescope, and then you have some luck with that. So very unusual. So whenever I look at a whole group of planets like this in the beginning sign of Aries, this is the dressing room. This is where we're deciding, okay, who do we want to be? How do we want to be? How do we want to act? And the other thing that's so important that I want you all to understand regarding Aries is even though Aries, you can see here, they're all armored up, they're all ready for battle. The interesting thing about Mars, specifically and Aries in general, is they know the cost of drawing the sword. So they are not likely to draw the sword. They're usually likely to kind of do some of the other things that they need to. When they're young, they might be a little bit more impetuous and more brash and rush into things. As we know, Aries is the sign we say where angels fear to tread. These are the ones that it's just pure instinct. These are the people who you want to have as your infantry in military. You give them orders and they just run off and do it. There's no real thinking about it. It's just pure in the moment expression. Again, when I see a group of planets like this, usually in astrology, we look at 4 planets as being what we call a stellium. They can go down as low as 3, but we have almost twice the power of a normal stellium. And so when I think of these, I don't think there's any other way to think of a group of planets in one sign as being anything other than a team. Like if you think of a football team, soccer team, baseball team, these are a group of individuals who have the same focus, the same viewpoint, the same agenda on what they're going to do things. They're wearing the same costumes, they're using the same tools, they're seeking the same goals, but they're going to be doing it from different ways, right? The moon's going to do it about the emotions. Mars is going to be doing it through its actions and its desire nature. Neptune's going to do it through its creativity and spirituality. Saturn is going to be doing it through structuring limits and boundaries. The sun is going to be through shining it forward and expressing it in a way that people are easily and readily seeing it. Chiron is going to be doing it in a way that helps and structures others because the self understands what it's like to not be in contact with self. And Mercury is going to be able to speak to that initiatory energy and speak to the truth that lies underneath when other people might not be speaking to it. So what I call this month and what I call this group are the Rams. We always think of the Cubs, right, in Chicago, but these are the Rams. And I'm not talking about a football team or a soccer team. This is the team of Aries coming forward, declaring that that which came before needs to be forgotten, and we need to move forward in a way that allows us to conquer and take over the things that we want to take over and do. This is a real doing, being, instinctual energy. So 60 to 75% of the planets are in this one sign. So this is an incredible focus that's asking for us all to see things from a very different standpoint. From a spiritual standpoint, we're looking at a whole different structure here. Here I've done a AI generated. This was not something Christine did. It was a little easier just to be able to put that in, of course, and came up with these few key words for you to think of when you're dealing with this energy. The moon represents the silent tide that shapes feelings into knowing and memory into meaning. Mars is the spark that turns will into action and desire into destiny. Neptune is the veil between the worlds where truth dissolves into dreams. Saturn, the gatekeeper of time, shaping the soul through necessity. It's not a joyride with Saturn. Saturn's about what the requirements are. The sun is the eternal flame of self, radiating purpose into being. Chiron is the one who teaches from the depths of experience and knowing. And finally, Mercury is the sacred messenger who weaves mind into meaning and words into worlds. This can really change this whole dynamic of the energy that's going on. And so it's really good to look at more the esoteric understandings of each of these planets. And that's just tipping up the tip of the iceberg on the esoteric aspects of these planets. So really good to kind of go in more in depth if you're wanting to look for a deeper meaning and deeper purpose to what this energy is about. So this is a supercharged once in a lifetime, 10,000 year, beyond once in a lifetime, right? Once in 10,000 year astrological event that will recharge that area of your life where Aries is found. So in the first house right here, we're going to be talking about the assertive self. Second house, bold resources. Third house, direct speech. Fourth house, courage in home. Fifth house, creative risks. Sixth house, active routines. Seventh house, honest partnerships. Honest partnerships, right? Eighth house, transformative intimacy. Ninth house, expansive learning. 10th house, leadership thrust. 11th house, group initiative. And 12th house are inner breakthroughs. So you can use these key points to understand how this energy is working in your life and find the ways in which you are going to be using these energies. For myself, I have Aries in the fifth house. And what I have found is that my creative self has gone through a huge rebirth. Like I want to make art every day. So these are the kind of things. I mean, this is a real, it's going to be hard for you not to see what this energy is. If you're not sure where your Aries is in your chart, feel free to email me at michael@michael.com. Give me your email address. I mean, give me your birth date, your birth time, and your birthplace, and I'd be able to tell you which house Aries falls in your own astrological chart. If you don't feel like going through that, you can go through lots of different free websites. I highly recommend astro.com. You can go in there, put in your information, and it will give you the information that you need to see. When we look at all these houses, these are developmental issues. So these are actually as we go through these different areas of life. And so wherever Aries falls in your chart, this is where a major reset is going to be happening for you going forward in life. So, as I said earlier, I want to talk a little bit about Mr. Trump, who I originally talked a bit about with my astrological mavericks, which again, I'll talk about in a little bit as well. But these are people who have planets on the angles. Mr. Trump has his Mars and Regulus, the star Regulus, on his ascendant at 29 degrees of Leo. And so this makes him a maverick. With all of this energy coming over here from Aries, feeding into his Leonine planets, his Pluto, his Mars, his ascendant, and his Regulus, I feel this is really like pouring gasoline on a fire. What we're noticing with him, he's getting more and more erratic. He's getting more and more full of himself, more instinctually oriented, and I think he's actually really kind of losing his mind. In addition to this, you can also see on his body, he's having inflamed spots of red, which is being covered up by makeup on his hand, on his neck. These are all fiery eruptions. I think this is going to be what's going to continue to happen with him. There is an aspect of self-immolation that can happen with this. Fire doesn't often understand how to regulate itself. And if we look at Trump, this is a man who's never learned self-regulation. He's always been able to do whatever he wants. He doesn't take no for an answer. And as I said, I talked about this in my book, Astrological Mavericks. He is an individual who's here to do what he believes he needs to do. He is a lot like, but not with the consciousness of Louis XIV, who stated, "L'état c'est moi," the state is me. Trump does not see a division between himself and the presidency. He doesn't see himself as a difference between himself and the United States itself, actually. This is a king, so to speak. And of course, that's what we've been dealing with our no king marches and trying to get him to understand that this is a presidential thing. But also, when we go back, we have to understand that right now, what is also feeding into a lot of this energy is we've got Pluto over here at 5 degrees of Aquarius, and we have Uranus. Sorry, we've got, that was off. Yeah. Yeah. Pluto over here in Aquarius, of course, and we've got Uranus getting ready to go over into Gemini. These are going to be adding more fuel to the fire. These are going to be putting pressure. Fire needs air. When we've got this air going on, it just kind of fluffs it. It makes it just become inflamed, literally. So this is a way that people can really, those of you who have any fire planets, let me see, is this the next one? Yeah. Those of you who have any planets in the sign of Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius, really be careful. It's a good time to take a little bit of the energy of Libra, if you have any of it in you, and be able to say, okay, let me think on it. Let me consider this. Because with all this fire going on, it's really easy to just be immediate and respond immediately. Aries is a cardinal sign. It just wants to act. It just moves forward. It doesn't think about anything. It responds, it reacts. And so with this sort of energy that's going on, we can expect a lot of reactivity. So whatever you can do to bring in some calmness or to bring in an understanding of, okay, this is getting a bit much. I need to step back and create space, or whatever you need to do in your personal relationships and your work relationships is very important. Wherever Aries is showing up in your chart, pay attention to that part of your chart, because you are just going to be almost alive. This can also, like I'm saying with Trump, this can result in a lot of physical representations, these fire signs, the skin, the eruptions of the skin. Saturn's involved in this, the eruptions of the skin, hard dreams with Neptune, maybe accidents while you're working out, Mars and Mercury in Aries. Just take your time. Hardly any astrologer is talking about the rareness of this activity that's going on. They're talking about some of this is going on, but they don't understand like how long this has been going on, or for how unusually rare this is. In regard to my book, Do You Have What It Takes to Change the World? Astrological Mavericks. If you have planets conjunct an angle, which is the ascendant, IC, descendant, or midheaven, what I have found that these individuals have super powered charges in their life. They can't help but be themselves. I see this very specifically and clearly with Trump, and I've seen it with all the other mavericks that I'm working with. Obviously, not to the extent that he does it, but it's quite another story when it comes to that. So I was one of the people who had a free 5-minute reading with me, sent me this wonderful recommendation afterwards. She said, you were able in just a few sentences to pinpoint something about me that I knew but could never fully grasp. I feel that this part of astrology is the pink elephant. These are the things that are so present for each of us who have these placements, but it's hard for people who don't work with these energies to understand what's going on. And so there's always this slight miss that can happen with astrological readings. I'm the only one who's doing this work. There are a few other astrologers who understand the importance of it, like Sam Reynolds, but it is not very usual for people to do that. If you think you have an astrological maverick placement, please feel free to email me again at michael@coremichael.com. And I would be happy to, if you include your birth date, your birth time, and your birthplace, I'd be happy to review your chart and let you know if you are indeed a maverick. These are my social media spots. I just want to tell everyone, please be careful out there. Find ways in which to create greater aspects of compassion and empathy, especially for yourself first. This is all about me. And when I say me, that means you, each one of you. All of us are dealing with this. Every single one of us on the planet have Aries somewhere in our chart, so we are all going to be dealing with this. How each of these planets in Aries affect the rest of the planets in your chart is an even more complex aspect. If you're interested, I'm able to do readings on that. I call it a roadmap reading as far as what the current plan is for your life, and happy to go over that with you. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Thank you so much and have a great day.